Good morning. Hope everybody made it.
Good morning.
Hope everybody made it through the snow and is ready to learn some technical support questions, or I should say answers to the technical support questions. Is everybody able to hear us okay? You want to raise your hand to make sure you can hear us? There's some hands. Good. Okay.
So you might want to explain there is a raise your hand button on the GoToMeeting console there. Is what will indicate, because I just imagine always people sitting at their desks in their offices with their hands in the air raised up whenever they ask that question. It always cracks me. But yes, there is a raise hand button on your GoToWebinar, and that can just let us know that we can hear you can hear us and that we are across okay to you.
All right, I saw hands go up.
Good.
So I guess I've set up a lot of these webinars, but I haven't done one yet, so I'm going to possibly stumble through some of the finer things, so I apologize ahead of time. But what you're hearing, I'm Denny, and Jennifer is with me, and we are the main technical support people at CAD-1, and we get a lot of questions, and some of them are repeated questions and relatively easy fixes, so we decided that we would put together a webinar of those questions, and that's what we're here to do today. So I just wanted to point out, as Jennifer said, there's the raise your hand button, and you can also ask questions in the little question box, and then Jennifer said I sounded like I was in a tin can too. I'm actually remote, so hopefully you can hear okay, but I don't know what I can do to make the change the sound at all. But anyway, ask your questions.
She didn't want to brave the snow this morning, so she stayed home today.
She did. So ask questions as you think of them, and then Jennifer will read them, and if they pertain to the actual topic, I guess we can interrupt and answer those. Otherwise, we'll just try to continue on. We do have time at the end where we will answer questions as they come through. All right, so basically, when AutoCAD quits working the way that you're expecting it to work, it gets very, very frustrating. For the next hour, Jennifer and I are going to cover some of the things that you can do to help yourself get AutoCAD back functioning on some of the basic things that go wrong. Okay, so the way that we've got this kind of set up is a description of the problem, what the answer is, and then we'll pop into AutoCAD and show you what we're talking about. So a lot of people customize AutoCAD, and so you install your new AutoCAD and you immediately apply all the customization, and then at times it's hard to tell whether AutoCAD actually didn't install correctly, there's some sort of an issue with perhaps a Microsoft update, or if there's the customization that was migrated over is causing the problems. And so if the program crashes, if it just plain won't start, and you get errors all the time, one of the things that we can do is there is a tool that allows you to set your AutoCAD settings back to the default settings. And that would be one of the quick and easy ways. Now, we used to have to go in and erase files and go into the registry and make edits, and now that's actually, there's a tool.
Anyone else?
What?
You still there, Denny?
I am. Can you not hear me?
Sorry, you just cut out for a little bit there, so you might want to just go over that last little part again.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I was just saying that a lot of times when we set up AutoCAD, we immediately move our customizations over, and that's not always prudent to when it won't start. We don't know if it's our customizations or if it's just a bad install or a Windows conflict. So there's a tool that is available in AutoCAD or with the Autodesk products that allows you to reset the settings to the default values, basically wiping out the customization. Then we could put it back in one step at a time and figure out what the problem is. And the process of doing that is really quite simple. You cannot be in AutoCAD, but the access to it is just from the Start button. And let's go take a look at that now. I'm actually in AutoCAD, so this is not going to work. But basically, you just go to the Start button, to your All Programs, expand your Autodesk collection into the version. So 14 and 15 are the ones that have this new tool to reset to defaults, and you just basically pick reset settings to default values. You pick that. If I pick it now, I'm going to get a message saying that AutoCAD's open and it's not going to work. But you just pick this. It sets everything back to the default settings. You try to launch AutoCAD, and you go from there. So that's the first one, and that one's relatively easy. It's really, really simple, and anybody can do it. So you don't need to get your IT involved, and this could be something that you start with in troubleshooting to figure out what's going on with your system. A lot of times we've done this, and the system just, it works. So whatever the problem was, resetting that value makes a difference. All right, now
I had someone just last week that they had a 2-key command that wasn't working, and we tried several different things. Finally tried that reset settings to default, and that resolved his issue, and his 2-key command would work again. It was, you know, it was a basic out-of-the-box default, so it wasn't a custom or anything, but for what reason, some customization that he had added in caused it to not work anymore, and resetting the settings to default got him up and working again.
All right, I was seeing the question come up. Sorry for that pause.
So,
I know in 14 there was not that availability. I thought 15 was introducing it. Let's go take a quick look. I do have Civil 3D on here, so we certainly can take a look.
The question was, just for the audience members here, some of us use Civil 3D primarily. If any apply to Civil 3D as well, it would we would appreciate it if you'd mention that. And so Denny's just taking a look here at her Civil. As I recall, there is a reset settings to default in 14 and 15 for Civil 3D as well.
There definitely is one for 2015, but there wasn't one for 2014.
Gotcha.
So for 2015 there is, and to me that's huge because there are a lot of things in Civil 3D that aren't in AutoCAD, and getting back to that point of Civil 3D from the basics without having to uninstall and reinstall is, in my opinion, it's huge. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to bring up, or that we hear a lot, is I go to open a drawing and all of a sudden I don't have a dialog box, it's just down at the command line. Well, that's a really easy fix, and that's a system variable called it's the file dialog box. That's FILEDIA. This is a basic AutoCAD command, so this is going to apply to any AutoCAD process. So it's a simple fix. Let's see if I can get this to go. Okay, so basically when you go to open a drawing, then you get everything gets prompted down at the command line level. So let's go take a look at AutoCAD, and I'll demonstrate. So when we choose to open a drawing, by default we get a dialog box, and that's what we're used to seeing. So when the file dialog gets turned off, when we go to open the drawing, or instead we get this command prompt. I have my dynamic prompting on, so it's coming on the screen, but if you look down, if you can see it, the command line is where you see it. And why this is the problem is because you have to type the entire path of where your drawings are. And I know all the people that I've helped along the way, there's quite a few different depths that your paths are to your project drawings, especially on the server. So this is completely unacceptable, but it's an easy fix, a simple escape. Type in FILEDIA, hit enter, set the value to 1, hit enter, and your dialogues are back. So this is going to be any dialog box. It's going to be your file open, it's going to be save as, anything that's going to prompt you to navigate to a file. If that variable is turned off, then you're not going to get the dialog box. And then a lot of questions, how does this happen? How does that get turned off? There are quite a few things. One of them is the batch plotting, so the publish command. If you go into the publish command and you cancel out through the publish, a lot of times that will turn off the file dialog because it's opening those files behind the scenes. So any routine that you might have installed or are using in within your AutoCAD realm or Civil 3D or whatever it happens to be, AutoCAD architecture, if you have a routine, a lot of times those routines will collect the variables, record what they're set to, run the routine, or change them as it needs for the routine, and then sets them back at the end of the routine. So anytime that routine gets canceled partway through, those variables don't get set back. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slideshow. All right. Jennifer, are you addressing the question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on and let Jennifer will answer that question. She'll type it to you. Okay. So the next thing that we've had is with AutoCAD, with the ability to select objects first and then decide what you're going to pick or what editing command. So you select your objects and then choose move or then choose copy. So what happens is you select all the objects you want and you go to pick the command that you're going to use, whether it be erase, move, copy, whatever. All of a sudden, all those objects you've just selected are deselected. And additionally, your right-click menu, being able to select an object and see it in your properties, so knowing what layer it's on, all of those are all tied together, and they're tied to this pick first system variable. So when pick first gets turned off, then basically you have to pick the command before you pick the objects. And so although the process of picking the objects is available, it doesn't work that way anymore. So here's kind of a little example of it. So you can select your objects, you go to pick the command, and all your objects are deselected. And that's because your pick first system variable got turned off. So let's go take a look in AutoCAD at that. Excuse me. All right, so first I'm going to
Another thing you might notice on this is if a lot of your commands are missing from your right-click menu, like just being able to see something in properties or simple things like that, a lot of the options from the right will be missing when your pick first got set the other direction.
That's a good point, Jennifer. So here is with pick first working correctly, the way that we expect it. And although I don't have anything on any other layer, you'll notice that when you pick this, it's showing in your properties, it's showing you what layer it's on. Actually, let's do this. Let's quickly make another layer so that we can actually show this. So we're going to do a new layer, and just for a difference, we'll make it yellow. We can see yellow, okay? All right. So now I'm going to move this to the yellow layer. Okay, so right now with pick first on, when I select my object, I can see what layer it's on. I don't use this as much, I use the properties, but that's one way to tell. So now if we turn pick first off, spelled right, then when I go to pick my objects, notice it lets me pick them, but it doesn't, nothing changes. So I'm going to just release these with an escape, and when I pick this, notice that my layer properties is not showing me. Plus, when I select multiple objects, I right-click, and I don't have all the options that I have usually to copy, to move, those types of typical commands. And also, if I go to my modify, and just we'll say I'm going to move this, notice that it deselected everything, and I'm at a select objects prompt. So that's really, really frustrating when that happens. And then, again, this is an easy enough fix. You just type pick first at your command line, and then you set that value back to 1 or turn that value back on. Now there's one way that gets, I don't know how many of you open the properties. So some of these options, oh, that's a different one. That's a Pickadd. Never mind. So that this variable also gets turned off with list routines that get canceled out partway through. I'm not sure of another way that this. Go ahead.
Or possibly just a crash in the, if your program crashing like that, it could cause pick first to get left open or file DIA to get open, any of these kind of command ones to get left open instead of properly and set back the way you would expect them to.
Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow. All right. So the next one, the next question or problem that occurs is when I'm thinking it's map. AutoCAD map used to start with the command line completely turned off, which totally threw me. I am very much, it was always, as I used to teach AutoCAD, it was always an RTFCL, which is read the flipping command line, because that's telling you what it's expecting next. So when you read your command line, is something selected, or it'll be prompting you for something. So when that command line is gone, I just didn't know what to do. And in the newer versions of AutoCAD, it kind of comes in as that floating window. And although it doesn't just accidentally get turned off, it's easy to get it turned off, but it's just as easy to get it turned back on. Holding down the control key and the number 9 will turn that command line back on for you. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. So basically, here's just the picture of the command line missing and the command line back on. All right. So here are the command lines. So when AutoCAD comes, it's kind of sitting right there. It's easy to, I think, as you're moving around, and if we have a delay, I know I'm completely impatient if I have a mouse delay, so I'll be picking things. So you pick this and you could turn it off. Now here it pops up, it usually lets you know, but I want to know how many, and go ahead and pick your raise your hand button, because I'm just curious. How many of you answer this as yes without even reading the message sometime, just to get it off the screen? Nobody? Oh, okay. All right. So you can always pick this to close a command, then it will always do it. It'll always do whatever you tell it to. So I'm going to say yes, turn it off, and notice my command line is gone. So holding down the control key and hitting the number 9 just brings the command line right back. It puts it right back where it was. So if I had this docked, which I usually do, if I were to turn the command line off, it's gone, control 9, and it's back. That's also, if you're noticing on the command line itself, so it's command line, if typing that variable or that command will turn the command line on, and command line hide will turn it off. So that's another way that if you can't remember the function key, if it gets turned off, so command line hide will turn it off. I'm going to say this so it just quits popping up. And then command line will turn it back on. So there are a couple of options for you as far as the command line and getting that back. And that one is big. I very much am used to my command line, even if it pisses me off that it's in the way sometimes. It's something that I really am used to. All right.
Denny, we had a question come in. What causes the sheet tabs to disappear in AutoCAD?
I don't know what causes them to disappear, but they are not on by default. I would think, I don't know. I've never had, not working in a production environment, it's hard to know what makes it happen. My focus is just on how to fix it. So I'm not sure what causes them to shut off. I would think a crash, depending on what's going on in the middle, you know, what's going on if AutoCAD crashes that they get turned off. And like I said, they're off by default. Do you know, Jennifer?
I know for versions at least 12, 13, 14 range, they were off by default when you got the software. Then for 15, they seem on by default whenever you install the software again. But there is a setting in your options dialog box on the display tab. If you've got a second to go over and show them that real quick.
Well, that's actually something we're going to cover later on too. So if you can hold on.
Perfect. Well, we'll get to there then. So that was Joanne's. Said, let me rephrase. How do you turn them on?
Okay,
so, yes,
that is absolutely.
We can definitely get to that here in a few minutes.
It's in just in a couple of
If we knew exactly why the software did some of the things it does, we'd probably get a whole lot more.
Yeah. All right. So this one is one that I think it's very frustrating. It's when a lot of times it happens when you go from 2 monitors to 1 monitor and you have a window that opens up on the second monitor. All of a sudden you don't see it on the single monitor. I, for the life of me, cannot make it happen, but there'll be times when you issue a command and it looks like the system is locking up, but it's not. It's just that your screen the dialog box is off screen. So you can do a Shift, Alt, Spacebar, M, and then use your arrow keys to move it back on. This I can't tell you how many times I've had that happen. Basically, I'm going to try to mimic it, except I'm just going to slide my window off just to show you the process of doing it. Now, the couple of things that you have to keep in mind, that all of these keystrokes, you can't pick anything. You really can't touch anything in the process. It's the keystrokes only, the arrow keys, because otherwise you basically cancel out of the process of what you're doing. So let me go and show you as close as I can to what happens. And I'm going to just go ahead and use the plot dialog because I know it opens up a window. So basically what happens, I'm just going to shove this off the screen as much as I can. Okay, so I can see it, so I know it's there. But ultimately, if you look at the command line, the word plot is, and it acts like it's waiting, but nothing happens. So you have an arrow on your screen. This is what I get reported to me as the system locks up. And so here's your test. So if you get to this, whatever the command is, if you can hit escape and you get your command line back and your program comes back, then the likelihood is that your window is just off the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and call up that plot command again. And in your world, this would not pop back onto the screen. It would be off the screen. So basically, when our window's off the screen, we're going to hold down the Shift key, hold down the Alt key, hit the space bar, and let go. And now I put this over on the right on purpose so that you can see the little window that comes up. Okay, so if you're in a window that is an independent window that has moved off the screen, now you're not necessarily going to see this piece, but I wanted you to see it now so that you know what you're doing. Now I've done nothing but hit the Control, Alt, and Space bar, and now notice that it says the M is my key that I can use. So I'm hitting M to get the move option going, and then I can use my arrow keys to slide the dialog back onto the screen. Once it's slid on the screen, it's actually, I can move it around with my mouse now, but once it's on the screen, all you have to do is pick on that location and it will dock it, okay? And it should open up in that same place. Now, if it's any command, usually you might have to commit to whatever you've done, whether it's your open dialog, whether it's your plot dialog, whatever it is. You might have to commit to it to get it to do something. But right now, if I just hit plot again, it's going to come back up wherever I picked on the screen to force that dialog back on. Now, I can't tell you, other than the fact that a resolution change, a dual monitor, those are things I know for sure cause the dialog box to go. Like I said, I've never, ever been able to get mine to go away. So I guess I've been lucky. It might be a possible problem if your AutoCAD is on your main AutoCAD is on your secondary screen. So when you go to start AutoCAD in a single screen environment, then all of a sudden everything has changed a little bit. And this is something, again, it's so crucial that you hold down the Shift, hold down the Alt, and pick the space bar, let all the keys go, type M, and then start using your arrow keys. Now, there's nothing, I haven't seen any kind of consistency on whether it goes off to the right or whether it goes off to the left. So just use your arrow keys. In my experience, it hasn't been that far off the screen. So if you just hold the arrow key down, eventually you see it. And also, it's always been to the right or to the left. I've never had it above or below. So if any of that helps you recover it, and also this is something Jennifer and I have both done many times, and that's something that you can give us. We'll do an internet meeting. You give us rights to the keyboard, and we're able to recover that box as well. So hopefully that helps you with some potential getting things stuck or not being able to get into your command. All right, now the next one is the Pickadd. So the Pickadd is what allows you to select multiple objects to be able to edit them. So Pickadd and Pick First work a lot together. So when the Pickadd is turned off, what happens is you get you select an object, you go to select the second object, and the first object is deselected, and the second one is then selected. So this picture tries to show you a little bit of that, and we're going to go ahead and go into AutoCAD and show you a little bit more. So let me first turn Pickadd off, and so what will happen is as I pick the first object, everything's fine. I go to pick my second object, and my first one is deselected. So what a lot of people have done is they figured out that you can just do, oh, there's another one we might want to talk about. But you can just select everything and then go on with it. But if it's a single item selection, it's just a pain in the butt. All right, and so the variable is Pickadd. So it's Pickadd, and we just set that to 1. And that gives that back. Actually, I'm going to set this to 0 because I want to show you how this one gets turned off frequently is if you use your properties window. This little icon right here, one of these, the Pickadd system variable. So depending on where your properties window is, this used to be an X, or it used to be up where it was easy to turn it off. So if you pick it, it changes the toggle. Okay? So that is how that Pickadd variable gets turned off at times. And if you
still there, Denny?
I am. Can you not hear me?
Go ahead and repeat that last 30 seconds or so, if you would, please.
Okay. So the Pickadd system variable gets toggled from this icon right here in the properties window quite often. It's an unintentional, but it happens. So just wanted to let you know where it goes. In case you forget what the command is at the window, we should be able to pick it here, and it changes the value. Okay?
Sounds good.
Pickadd is set to 2.
Yeah, so there is a 2 setting there's a 0, 1, and 2 setting for the Pickadd variable. 2 is actually the default for 2012 through 15, I want to say. So it gives you the option of either individually or windowing call correctly. It has to do with if the select command is used, keeps objects selected after the command ends. So most people prefer 2 setting actually for Pickadd. It's what we've gotten familiar with over the years.
I guess I'm an old timer. I always had it 1 or 0. Okay,
yeah,
and I had
part of it off with 1.
I had the help window up so that you could look at what the variable setting was doing.
And as with any command, if you're in the middle of it, you can always hit the F1 key and it'll bring up the help docs and tell you the different settings and what the different settings mean. So it'll explain what the default one is and what the different options are. Yeah, so what Jennifer was saying is to get into the Pickadd help, I just typed Pickadd at the command line, and with it highlighted, I just hit the F1. It takes me right into help with that option rather than having to come into help and then go find it from there. And it shows you your initial value is 2, so that's when you open AutoCAD for the first time. It's going to be set to 2, and where those settings are saved at, whether they're a per drawing set, whether they're in your user setting or in your system settings. Okay. So the variables could be set either if they're set in the registry, that means you change them for the computer and they're set. You set them in, I actually am not sure the user settings, but I'm going to think that that's volatile. I think it's within the computer, but there's also the ones that are set in the drawing that are drawing specific, meaning that they have to be set in every drawing to have it that value maintained. And that's the time that you would put it into a template or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now here is the layout model tabs and also the drawing tabs, the new tabs across the top. I like the tabs, and so how they get turned off, well, the layout model tabs are turned off a lot of times by default, but there are a couple of different places. It used to be in the options, and you'd have to go to different locations to find them. And now it's really easy. It's just a setting
you can either go into options, but it's also a setting in the ribbon. So let's go take a real quick look at that. All right, so these are the drawing tabs, and of course we are all familiar with the layout tabs down at the bottom. And it's on the View tab is where we find these settings. And it's either off or on. So you pick it, and they're off. And you pick it again, and they're on. And to me, the way that we used to do it, so if we actually turned off the layout tabs down at the bottom, I don't think we can't even do it anymore. We used to be able to right-click and turn them off, and that's not an option anymore. I do like the fact that we can dock them above and below, so it makes them a little bit easier to view. So along the status bar or above it. So that's pretty simple. I don't know what else to say about that, so we'll just move on.
You can also change the setting in options as well on the display tab. So another option
show that
to change it.
Oops, I was actually already there. So here's the layout and model tabs. You can check or uncheck that box to turn them off or on. I'm not sure where the drawing tabs are. Do you know, Jennifer?
They are not off the top. No.
They'd be in here somewhere too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Somebody can pipe up if they know where they are. But I like the fact that they're quick and easy on the ribbon. So if you're not using the ribbon, maybe it's not so quick and easy to turn it on. Maybe this is a good reason to start using the ribbon.
The Command File tab and File tab close will turn it off and turn it on as well.
That does the layout tabs as well?
The drawing tabs across the top.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. All right. So next. So this one, not as often anymore, but what we have every now and then is you accidentally set the system color or the system line type rather than changing it of an object, it gets set to the system, which means that no matter what layer you're on, whether it's green, yellow, white, it's drawing. If the system is set to red, it's red. And if the line type is continuous on some or hidden on some, no matter what, it draws the same way. And that's when the system settings get switched instead of an object. And the way that this happens, generally speaking, is that you think that you've selected an object and you haven't. And it can be changed either in the properties or it can be changed on the ribbon as well. So let's go take just a real quick look. If we're looking in the properties, oops, so basically if I wanted to switch this color to red, if I select the object, I have the option of changing the color in my properties window. Okay? So what happens is you select the object, but for whatever reason it's released and you still come back over and change the color, then it's red. So that means that even if we happen to be on a layer, let's say this one that's yellow, and we go to draw an object, I'm on my yellow layer, and when I select, let's go back and set 0 as our current layer, I select this, it tells me it's on layer 1, and layer 1 is showing me that it's yellow, but that object is red. That's how it happens, is a change is made to color or layer over here, or line type, excuse me, not layer, and the line type is set by default. I have no line types loaded to show, but it would be the exact same thing. And it's a two-step process to get everything back to the way it's supposed to be. First, you need to make sure that you have no selection showing, and you need to set this back to by layer. That's how we control our layer settings. So now the system is set up okay, so that means if I were to draw a new line now, it's not red, it's taken on my layer characteristics, but my other objects are not set to by layer. They're set to color equal red. So the other thing to do is select those objects, and since I'm switching it to by layer, it doesn't matter if I pick one or pick them all, but I'm going to pick them all, and I'm going to go back to the color, and I'm going to choose to set that color back to by layer. that means that whatever layer those objects happen to be sitting on, it will take on the characteristics of that layer. Now there are times when you have objects set to a specific color for a specific reason, regardless of the layer they're on. So if that is the case, then you just need to be a little bit more discreet in what you're picking and not just pick everything to change it back to by layer. But this would be how it accidentally gets set and then how to fix it once it does get set. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow. All right, so the next thing, or a big thing, is about wanting your shortcut keys. Part of the whole process of working with AutoCAD and the customization is to get it set the way that it works best for you. Is everybody, can you still hear me? I'm getting messages saying that I'm having trouble with my audio. Can you hear me?
I can still hear you here.
Okay. Then I'll just keep going. Okay, so one of the keys, I think, to being able to become more productive in AutoCAD is to customize it to your use, to the way that you like it. And one of those things is the shortcut keys. The shortcut keys get saved into the AutoCAD.pgp, and we've been editing that for years and years and years. And the way that I used to edit it is I'd go into the dialog, open it, or into the file, open it in Notepad, and then I would change the case. So if I was changing copy or circle to copy, I would actually just change the case. And the problem is that when you go to migrate your settings, there's no way that AutoCAD can pick through and figure out which button or which commands in the main group of commands you've changed. It's not going to be able to recognize uppercase versus lowercase. So we need to have a different way to do that. Well, AutoCAD actually, not AutoCAD, well, yeah, AutoCAD, sorry. AutoCAD does give us this option of if you load your Express tools, and everybody has Express tools available, and every AutoCAD-based application except AutoCAD Architecture loads the Express tools by default. AutoCAD Architecture, you have to do a custom install, and you have to check the box that you want to load the Express tools. But everything else loads them. And when you load them, you have an Express Tools tab on your menu, on your ribbon, excuse me, and it's the command alias is the tool, and this is the dialog we're going to get. And now what this does is it adds all these commands to the bottom. And since it's a Notepad item, it is a line-by-line interpretation. And by putting it at the bottom, that line gets interpreted last, which means that's what it's going to get set to. And the beauty of putting them at the bottom is that group of commands is easily migrated from the old AutoCAD.pgp, say 2014, to the new AutoCAD.pgp for 2015. So all your custom commands are going to get set. So now let's take a quick look on actually how easy that is to do in AutoCAD. So with the Express tools, so if you haven't loaded your Express tools, or if you loaded them but you don't have the tab, you could type the command Express menu at the command line, and it should put the tab up there. And if that's not the case, then all we have to do is go into the CUI, into the workspace, and turn that on. And I can show, let's get through all this, and I can come back and show if anybody has a question about that. So basically, you're going to pick your Express Tools tab, and it's the command alias editor that we want to use. We're going to change an existing one. So I'm just going to pick in the box, so it's my current window, and I'm going to type C to get me to that command quickly. And now I'm going to, so I see that it's circle. Well, I want to edit that. So I'm going to change that, and then by picking edit, and here's the command it's telling me it's using. Again, I'm just going to pick in the command window, and I'm going to switch to copy. I just started typing copy till I see the command. I'm going to pick OK, and it's going to tell me that that's already assigned to something. Do you want it to be assigned different? I'm going to say, yes, I do, and it now refers. So now when I pick OK, do you want to rewrite it? So it rewrites it, and then it actually updates it, so it reinitializes it. So now when I type in the C command, see, it says circle, not copy. I must not have been paying attention. Let's go back in here and see what I did. Nope, C is copy. So it's got to be reading. I must have it from a different location. Or I didn't. Okay. They have been saved. So I'm going to reinitialize the PGP file. I typed in REINIT to get it to reinitialize. So the question I asked earlier, where you just go through all those prompts and answer yes, 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 one of those prompts must have been asking me about reinitializing, and I didn't answer it correctly. So if that's the case, you can always type in REINIT. That is the reinitialization command. And it used to apply to a digitizer as well, but now it's just the PGP. You check the PGP, you pick OK, and it reads the file in. And now I do have C is now copied on my for my shortcut commands. I was looking at the questions. Were you
we've got a couple questions. If you've got a sec.
Sure.
Yeah. So Melanie says, I have sometimes trouble in edit alias with a command that begins with underscore, like AutoCAD map commands, e.g. example underscore map w space. She means that it doesn't work afterwards.
What do you mean it doesn't work afterwards?
Have you changed? Maybe you could provide a little bit more there, Melanie. I'm assuming she's meaning that she changes the 2-key shortcut for like using the map does command, and after changing it, it doesn't work afterwards, is what I'm assuming. But if you want to clarify or elaborate on that, that would help us out a little. Meanwhile, we'll jump on to the next one while we're waiting on Melanie. Nora asks, what is the best way to bring in third-party software list of commands from like Works or something like that?
It depends on the application, but usually they have their own tool, because I'm pretty sure CAD-Works is one of them, but they have their own method of 2 keys. It's not the ACAD.pgp file, and their program overwrites the ACAD.pgp sometimes. We'd have to take a look at that would be an instance by instance basis. So if you have a third party, and if we have the ability to override it, I've seen where we've been able to get it to change, but as soon as we close AutoCAD and come back in, their program resets all of the commands to what they want to use.
And North just said it doesn't. You usually have to copy it into the AutoCAD one from Notepad. So that honestly would probably be the way I would go about it, is to go ahead and copy it into the user-defined section of the PGP file. Shouldn't be a major issue that I know of anyway, unless you know different, Penny, on that. Copying it into the user-defined section.
There should probably not be any problem with that. Just know, though, that if that program isn't loaded, those keys are not going to work, because they're tied specifically to that program. So if you're distributing that and somebody's using vanilla AutoCAD, those keys won't work. As far as causing a problem, it should not.
And then she said, even going forward, when you said it won't, if you just copy the part at the end of your PGP file into the new version, should migrate forward just fine.
That it is here.
Copy the area from the user.
Let me go show you. I'll show you where that file exists and where you need to copy it to, or what part of it, where it needs to be for it to automatically migrate. So we have to
kind of an in-depth question, actually, but
yeah, who knew? Let's see. I'm just going to take AutoCAD. We have to find it all the way down. Okay, so the ACAD PGP will always open with Notepad. All right. If you don't like, a lot of people will uncheck so it just does it this one time. This popped up on my other screen. So here's the main section of the AutoCAD commands. It's all the way down here under this user defined. So notice that it's got the copy that I changed using the command alias editor, this section of the PGP file will automatically migrate. Let me rephrase that. Is it capable of being migrated? If I were to come up here and just change my my circle to the C to be copy up here, it's not going to go across. There's no way that it's going to be able to pick through all this. This is a simple copy this section and move it over. So if you think that if you want to, I don't know that it'll work. I don't see why it wouldn't, moving your CAD-Works shortcut keys over here. But a lot of those programs have their own way. If it's actually truly a PGP shortcut process, it'll work. If it's in a list routine, it won't work just copying it over. The PGP is only going to do the first level of command. So it'll start the zoom command, for instance, but you can't put in the PGP the E for extents. So ZE can't be a shortcut command to represent zoom extents. Okay, I'm just going to close that down. Do we have any other questions that we want to address right now? Or
sure, we got one other, a couple other here. Melanie replied back and said, I may have made up my own 2 or 3 letter shortcut in alias edit W space, but it doesn't work later. So if that helps you any with what she might be trying to add a custom 2-key command for map W space with the underscore at the beginning of it, and it works at first but doesn't work later from the sounds of it.
Well, just Melanie, let's take that one offline, and we can do a phone call, and we could take a look at that, because that underscore only is supposed to only mean it's an English language command. So it really it shouldn't make any difference whether it with an underscore, excuse me, or not. But we definitely, I'm happy to have that conversation with you one-on-one, taking a look at your computer to see what's going on with that, if that's okay.
Bill makes a mention of when you're making a change in your alias edit dialog box, oftentimes that it's like a completion dialog. It'll go behind the other one. When you hit OK, it's the confirm changes dialog box. So that's one thing to watch when you make a change in here. This dialog box here will actually be behind AutoCAD sometimes, or just behind the PGP dialog box. For it with that keyboard button at the bottom of your screen there, it might have just gone behind and won't let you get out of that dialog box. So Bill brought that up, and that's a good point.
Thanks, Bill. Okay.
And we've got another one, but it's not related to this, so we can take it up at the end of the list of questions today.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on. Oh, okay. So actually, we only have a few more slides until we get to the just open questions. So one of the things that we've had quite a few problems with is downloading software. Since Autodesk has switched everybody to electronic download, you really have no choice but to download the software. And if it is if it's something that your IT allows you to do, there are actually a couple of ways to do it. And so that's from the subscription, but you have to be a user on subscription. Your contract manager for your subscription contract has to give you access to it and give you rights to download. And then once that's done, then it's not that big of a deal. But another one is the virtual agent, which is this little guy here, and we're going to bounce over and show you both. So if you're in subscription, this is what your download is going to look like, and you're going to want to choose browser download. If you do an install now or a download now, then you require a continued connection to the internet without any interruption for it to work successfully. If you choose or change it to the browser download, it's going to download that file in its entirety to your computer, and then you can install it. One thing is you could copy the file to other locations for other users to install it. Plus, if you have a problem, you could copy it off to the server for safekeeping, for instance. And if you have a problem on your computer, it's easier to get it reinstalled. Let's go take a look at. Go ahead, Jennifer. Sorry.
I was just saying, definitely very true. You got to watch out for those browser downloads.
Oh, she just wanted to make fun of me. I see. I am inclined to use the Internet Explorer, but so here's our virtual agent. I have a link to it. You can also find it if we just Google, and then you can easily, if you Google the Autodesk virtual agent, and it's been to downloading your software. So depending on which one you choose, but there's been a link, an easier link. Before it was so helpful to, or hard to get to it. So right here, it's just visit the virtual agent. So it's a little bit easier to get to it now, but I've got the link. I'm more than happy to email it to you. But basically, you just go, okay, download links. I'm downloading AutoCAD software, so it's an AutoCAD product. It's actual AutoCAD, but you can see all the others. And I want to download the 32-bit. Depending on the browser you're in, you'll either be prompted to save it. Oops, excuse me, prompted to save it. Or if when I'm in Google, my Google automatically saves it to browser. If I hit save, it's going to to downloads. If I hit save, it's going to the downloads folder, which I don't think is a bad idea. It's easy to find it from there. Or you can pick Save As and send it somewhere else. One thing I do want to point out from the virtual agent, if you were to choose the suite, which many of us now have we'll look at the Building Design Suite, Building Design Suite Premium, and notice that there are actually 4 parts. That means that there are 4 files to download. All of those files need to go into the same location. Whether it's the downloads folder, if you create your own folder to send it to, I don't care, but you have to download all 4 parts, and then when you go back, it's only the first one that you double-click on, and then it's a 2-step process. It extracts the file, and by default, it's going to C drive Autodesk folder, and then after that, it'll start the installation. Now, the alternative to using that is the subscription, and the subscription, like I said, it requires a login, and as a user, and your user has to be set up by your contract manager. If you do have a user login, then this is the process of getting in there. And then once you're in, now mine's going to be a little bit different. Since we're a reseller, it's going to possibly have another step that I have to say, yes, take me to this location. But what you should do when it happens, you should go directly in to your subscription. And what you can do with your subscription access depends on what rights you've been given. So this is kind of the general user, and we're going to go to the downloads. That's where you would get your software from, and then download your product software is where you actually are going to get, for me, this is going to redirect me to my downloads. This should take you directly to your downloads page. And then what you'll see is you'll see a list of everything that you have on subscription, all the products that you have on subscription. Again, being a reseller, we have every product known to Autodesk pretty much on subscription. So when this comes up, it's going to give me this whole list. So you can see that I'm completely reliant upon my internet connection for all of this downloads to work. Now, the thing Autodesk now, you can get media. Autodesk is charging you for it. You can actually, I don't want to go back because they just keep changing pages, but there's a link. Oh, here it is over here. You can request physical media. They will send it to you, and when you pick on that request physical media, it goes through, you have to tell it what, if you want English or what, the language, why you can't download it, and where it's going to be sent to. And I can show you that real quick. So basically, we would go through and say, okay, for instance, let's say I'm going to download my Building Design Suite Premium 2015. So I go to the download, I pick the version I want. And then what's really nice, this is what I want to show you. It's going to by default do install now, which means it's doing an internet installation, and that can never be done again. So if it fails, it's not going to work the second time. If you have to rebuild the computer, it's not going to work. So I choose the browser download. The download now is supposed to download the software, and in theory, if you get interrupted in the download, it's supposed to pick up where it left off. I am a browser download person. You just choose browser download. just get the products downloaded, get them all. Now, the difference in subscription is it's not going to show you the 4 pieces. I like to do this in the Internet Explorer because it comes up with this prompting me. And notice that it says 4 of 4. So this prompt is going to come up 4 times. So I have to say, I'm going to actually choose cancel, but it'll still switch. So I don't want 4 of 4. Now it's 3 of 4. So I would hit save, 2 of 4, save, 1 of 4, save. So now it's going to download those 4. If I don't say yes or save to all 4 of those, then what happens is you have an incomplete download. You go to try to install it or extract it, you're going to get an error message. So just know the one thing I like about the virtual agent versus the subscription is you actually physically see how many files are involved. And then while I'm here, if you have access to download, I just want to point out that you also have access to extract your serial numbers or have access to your serial number and product key for that particular product. We happen to have a few contracts, and that's what we're seeing here. But for you, you would have the one line. It would tell you what the serial number is and the product key for your install. All right. And I noticed
we had a comment. We had a comment come in. The cost for that is correct. The cost for the thumb or the disc to be sent to you is around $30 if you're wanting to order physical media from Autodesk. One other thing is they are switching around. They are retiring the subscription center and having everyone switch over to Autodesk account here in the next month. Denny's bringing up the account site. If you've been into the contract management section of the subscription center anytime in the past or so, it's very similar. It's got a very similar feel to anything you would see in the contract management section if you've been in there at all. But there are alerts coming out directly from Autodesk, and we can do one on it as well, going through what you can find in the Autodesk account and you know, that type of thing. Information you used to be able to access in Subscription Center will be available in there, as well as some additional things as well.
Ooh, they're letting you change your quantity now. That's new. You used to only ever be able to get one. But anyway, you go through every step of the process. Since they changed it to account, it's a little bit different, but it is a build item, as Lisa has pointed out. I don't know that I like it, but they've been threatening to do it for a couple of years, so I'm not surprised that it's finally happened. Okay, the last thing that we wanted to specifically talk about is that there's a confusion between the profile and the CUI. What's in the profile and what's in the CUI. So Jennifer and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. As a generalization, anything that's in your options dialog box is being saved to the profile. Anything that's in your CUI, such as your workspace, the way your screen looks, that's in your CUI. Jennifer, did you want to say anything specific about any of that?
That's pretty, so big thing on the profile, you don't want to migrate that from version to version because there are things in the profile that are very specific to the version you're on. So that is one thing you want to, you know, you can do as reference for the newer version, but you don't want to just migrate it directly into your, so from 2014 to 2015 or so on and so forth. There are specific settings version in there. The CUI is a lot easier to migrate from version to version, or you can just pull your workspace from a previous version into your newest version. So not a big deal, not as big a deal on the CUI, but the profile you want to keep it version specific. But it is pretty handy if you're transferring to a new machine or helping out a coworker get their setup the same as yours, that type of thing, to transfer your profile from one computer to another.
And or if you are happy to get your computer rebuilt for any reason, you can export your profile.
Yeah.
So
because computers never crash or anything like that, no.
So basically, this tab, the Files tab, is the critical point of what's going to be, is what is set. There are some other options that do get set in the profile, but they are, and if the profile goes into the registry, but not all settings in the options dialog box actually gets exported with the profile to be imported again. This would be the tab that is the most crucial. Some of the other things would be the colors perhaps that you have or the crosshairs. Some of the things, like I said, they don't get set. There's a gazillion things in here. I couldn't tell you exactly what does, but I can tell you this tab does, and this is what Jennifer was referencing too, is the fact that this is referencing specifically AutoCAD 2015. Now, I will say on Autodesk's behalf that they are getting better with the migration of the profile, but I and Jennifer have seen so many mess-ups with the profile. It would take a whole lot less time to just go in and create a new profile, reset your path settings, and export. And so then you go to the Profiles tab to export your profile, save it on the server so it's backed up, and then you got it to go. Or as Jennifer implied, you also can share it so that you can get everybody in the company set up at the same time. Now, as Jennifer mentioned, the CUI, okay, let me take a step back. So when you export the profile, there's like a snapshot of the way your screen looks saved in the profile. So when you import a profile after AutoCAD's running, you're going to get that initial profile look, or excuse me, you're going to get that initial workspace look, but it's not necessarily a workspace that has been set. So the key, in my opinion, your key is when you have the screen laid out the way you want, you've got your palettes docked where you want them docked. So let's say, okay, I also want to have my tool palettes. I'm going to anchor those over on the right. So I've got my palettes and I've got my properties. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and save that workspace as, and I'm going to give it my name. That's my workspace. That's the way it's set. That becomes my current workspace. And then what Jennifer was implying to, in the CUI, I can go to this Transfer tab. I can then open, see, I'm on 2015, so it's going to be hard, but basically you simply open. We're going to just navigate back. I don't have it in 14, so I'm going to do this reverse logic. I'm going to go to where my CUI lives, App Data, Roaming, Autodesk. I'm going to go to AutoCAD 2014, AutoCAD 2014, E&U, Support. So basically I just opened the CUI. So like I said, I'm doing this reverse logic. In the real world, this would be your 14. That would be where your workspace lives. And so all you do to get it from one to the other is drag it and drop it, and it's there. So now let's do this. So now that's in my 2014. See if I can get rid of this. It's not if it's current. Stop. Set current. See if I can get rid of this now to. All right, so this would be kind of the setup that we would have. So my 2015 is over on my left side. I don't have my workspace. So I open up my 2014 on the right side. It does have my workspace. So then all I have to do is drag it from my old version, drop it into my new version, and now I have that workspace in my new version. And the beauty of doing that is if there is anything in that workspace that was not included in AutoCAD, like special commands that you created that you put into a toolbar or into a ribbon, those are automatically added at that time. And now my new version, very quickly I can make it look like my old version. And unfortunately, these all look the same, but I would just then come in and say, Denny, I hope I was kind of quick, but now this is set the way that I had it set in my previous version. And the CUI, as Jennifer said, it is not version specific. So you just copy that CUI out and save it, and you can then open it next version, pull your workspace over, and you're good to go. I am not a fan of just copying the CUI over and over unless it's 100% custom. And the reason is because your newer commands and your newer ribbons and context-sensitive stuff is not going to be in it. So transferring your customization is easy, as you saw. It's just a workspace drag. Anything to add?
Okay, well, we are about 5 minutes over, so we apologize for keeping you beyond the hour time frame. We did get through all of ours, but I know that you guys will still have questions as time goes on. I will try and keep answering the questions, but we'll go ahead and let you guys get back to work then. Thank you very much for tuning in, and Denny, for all the hard work you put in on putting this information together. And as always, if you have the contact information, there we go, up on the screen, you can shoot us a note and let us know if you have other questions that you might need help with. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube page. So if you want to review it again at a later point in time, that should be up pretty soon. But thank you again. Denny, did you have anything else to add?
No, we will go ahead, like Jennifer said, we'll stay on for a little bit and answer these questions. So feel free to keep shooting them to us, and we'll go from there. And oh, I just also wanted to mention, I didn't make a slide, which I meant to make, is that we are always available via our phone, which is 303-217-5174, brings you directly into our tech support department, or support@CAD-1.com. Send an email. We're always happy to help however we can. All right.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep.
Be safe out there.
Stay warm. Bye-bye.